request that everyone goes to Sahih. إن الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على رسوله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد فإن الأصدق الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدى هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this tremendous blessing today for Yom al-Jumu'ah and giving us the opportunity to gather for His sake. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us for any mistakes that we may incur and give us a tremendous blessing in this gathering, accept our worship on this day. Ameen. But inshallah, today we want to talk about all things coming to an end, all good things coming to an end. And when we talk about good things coming to an end, a lot of times we hate to see them end because we enjoy them so much. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the blueprint that He gave us, that is called Al-Islam, and the perfect model that He gave us with Al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet, that it is preparing us to be ready for all things, all good things coming to an end in our lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this book, in Surah Al-Baqarah, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wa qudiya al-amr, and when the matter is decided, wa ila Allahi turja'ul umur, and to Allah is the return of every affairs. All matters are returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as we live our lives, that this is a constant theme, that everything that we do, that we're accountable for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of these things will be returned to Him, and He will judge us accordingly to what we did. So that is something that we have to keep in mind when we commit sins, when we do good deeds, when we show off, when we try to be humble, when we fall down, when we get up. All of these things will come before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nothing will be hidden from Him. And how would the affair be when it is returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How would the affair be? Brothers, please try to move forward more, inshallah. How would the affair be when it is returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and each and every one of us are judged according to the deeds that we've done? It is so severe that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to warn us about this day. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He says, وَأَنذِرْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْحَسْرَةِ إِذْ قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ وَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and warn them, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, of the day of regret. Yawm al-Hasra. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this will be a day of regret, meaning the judgment day. And when the matter will be decided, when all affairs will be concluded. And then He talked about the people, وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ, and they will be in the state of heedlessness in this life. وَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, and they didn't have iman. And this ayah is directed towards the disbelievers, the ones who heard the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who lived and witnessed him teaching the Quran, and they didn't believe in it, and they didn't accept it. They didn't believe the Quran was the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They didn't believe in the resurrection after the death, and all of these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this will be a day of regret for those people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us to have iman, but it's not a given that we will die on iman. So we can't exclude ourselves from this ayah. Rather, we should take heed to it ourselves and make sure that we are not people who have ghafla, who are heedless about our life and how we're living it and how we're going about and how we're worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. we're not heedless, that our life is just not something that's transient. We're living, we're working, we're eating, we're sleeping, we're fulfilling our needs. And trying to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on the back burner. We can very well fall in this category of people who have ghafla. But as it stands now, we do have iman. We are people who are believers, but it's not a guarantee that our life will end like that. It's not a guarantee that we will die in the state of iman. It's not a guarantee that we won't commit something and we die upon that and be resurrected in the state that we died. Something we have to always give consideration, because it can happen, as we know, just like that, in an instant. Just like it happened for someone somewhere around the world, in an instant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when we talk about good things coming to an end, everything has an appointed term. All of it has to come to an end. All of this stuff has to happen the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed it. Whether right or wrong according to our logic, according to our thinking. Whether right or wrong to how we view the world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees that it all comes to an end. And He says in this book, وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٌ, and for each nation is a specified term. فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلَهُمْ لَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. So when their time comes, when that certain nation, their time comes, they will not remain behind any hour, or nor will they precede the hour. Meaning that the exact time that the good thing will come to an end, it will happen at the exact time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed it, and nothing will change it. And nothing at all will change it. For all of these things that we've been doing, praying and fasting and safeguarding our nafs and seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has been preparing us for good things coming to an end. And this is with respect to this blessed month of Ramadan, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us this tremendous month, 29 to 30 days. And now we look up and it's almost at an end. And it was a good thing. If we were conscious about it and we weren't heedless, it was a good thing. It's a good thing every year, even if we don't fulfill our duties as we should. Even if we don't tie our izar like the Prophet ﷺ used to do in the last 10 days. Even if we don't read the Quran or finish the Quran. Even if we don't make all the prayers at night. It is still a good thing, and it's coming to an end. So all of those preceding ayats that we mentioned should prepare us for the ending of this thing and make us more aware of the real end. وَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُرْجَعُ الْأُمُورِ, and to Allah is the return of all of the affairs. This affair, the last affair, the affair of salah, the affair of seeking forgiveness for sins, all of these things are going to be returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that should be the focus. And this Ramadan was just a bridge to that. And each Ramadan that we're blessed to observe is just a bridge to that. It's a means to getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of these things coming to an end. So the focus has to be on what the final destination is. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, and the final destination are for the people who have taqwa. As we mentioned last week, the goal of this fasting is for our taqwa to increase. Not our hunger, not our thirst, not our bad deeds, but for our taqwa to increase, so our iman can increase, so we can be in a good position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِلَى اللَّهِ عَاقِبَةُ الْأُمُورِ, and to Allah will be the outcome of all matters. So although this blessed month of Ramadan is coming to an end, our journey in life hasn't. Our struggle isn't coming to an end. And it doesn't stop because Ramadan is ending. Our struggle has to continue. Rather, our struggle has to increase. Because just like that, any one of us can be out of here. And no no one can prepare for it in totality, in reality. No one can prepare for it in its full spectrum of when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's always incumbent upon us. It's always a priority on our agenda to keep the focus on what the end will be. This is a tremendous loss for us, brothers and sisters. This month of Ramadan coming and going so fast. Nothing like it in the world. Nothing like Siyam in the world. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored this ummah to observe these fasts. And all of the blessings and the benefits and the brotherhood that comes with it every year. That brings us together. That brings us back in some cases. But now we have to keep our goal on the bigger picture. We return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of these things, whether good or bad, they're going to come to an end. We have to be ready and prepare ourselves for that end. And will our state be one of ghafla, or will it be one of taqwa? That's something that should be on our minds constantly throughout this dunya we're living, and we're trying to make ends meet and all of that. But don't become heedless. Don't pursue all that and we forget what the final destination is. And it's to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and our classification starts. Where we're going to end up. And the journey that precedes our classification. How we're going to escape punishment in the grave. How we're going to cross over the sirat. How are our good deeds going to outweigh our bad deeds. And all of these affairs are very important. Because this deen, this package that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, prepare us for the next life more than anything else. All of these things we go through is just transient. It's fleeting. And at the end, not the end of the day like a phrase they say, at the end of the day, such and such and so-and-so. No, at the end of the affair is when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it won't be the end of the day and then tomorrow's another day. And that's a reality that we have to come to terms with. That's what Ramadan was training us for. Having a good time, having a beneficial time, but it's coming to an end. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a good end. Ameen. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسوله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Brothers, please move forward and make the ranks to make room for brothers who are still coming in. Inshallah. I don't know if we're aware, but there was an all-points bulletin put out about a criminal that's at large, a very dangerous criminal. And we may not have seen it in the social media, may not have been on the news, but it's something we should be very aware about. And we should be concerned about our safety and our health. You know, when they issue an APB, it's called an all-points bulletin. And when they issue this all-points bulletin, it's for a criminal that's very dangerous. Meaning that if they catch this criminal, they should apprehend him on sight and use force if necessary. That's how dangerous this type of criminal is. Sometimes they call the APB an ATL, which means an attempt to locate. So when they put out this alert for a dangerous criminal, they want to capture this person because of the danger that they pose. Strangely enough, the APB that's been put out about this criminal is very difficult because this criminal is a suspect at large, but he's not on any list. He's not on any FBI most wanted list. He's not on a terrorist list. And with all of these Metro police we have walking around here in this city of Camden, they are ill-equipped to capture him. They have no clue. They don't even know how to locate him, even with the APB alert. He is a master criminal. A master criminal. A seasoned veteran. Very good at what he does. And he is a hardened criminal. Reform doesn't mean anything to him. You know they set up this justice system so to reform us when we go to institutions with the hope that we come out reformed. But this criminal, he doesn't care about reform. He knows he's going to jail, so he don't care. So when he's doing this thing, he's going all out and taking no prisoners. So locking him up has no bearing on rehabilitation. He is hard to locate, but he's right in our midst. And he even has a crew that works with him. There is no hope for reform for this hardened criminal. This is what he does for a living. A career criminal. This is what he does. He is very powerful, but yet he is elusive. He's out for blood. He's out for revenge. He's out for us. They set up checkpoints to try to capture him, but he counters the checkpoints by setting his own traps. He's a mastermind. He's good at what he does. His traps are very powerful, and they're very effective. And most of the time, they work. But the sad thing is, his traps are very identifiable. We know that they're the traps, and he's laying them for us. And he thrives using the same traps, just through different venues. This is what he does for a living. He is public enemy number one, the Shaitan. And he's coming to a town near you. He's coming to a site near you to infiltrate you, to whisper to you, to suggest to you, set a trap for you, and watch you fall into it. And that's his claim to fame. And he's caught once a year during Ramadan. He's chained up. But he's getting ready to make bail. He's getting ready to get a parole hearing. And when he gets out, ain't no reform for him. He's not going to walk the straight and narrow. He doesn't care about violation. He doesn't care who he harms. And he's out for us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the Shaitan. He chained him up during the month of Ramadan. But he's going to be free in a little bit. Inna shaitana lakum aduwwun fatakhiduhu aduwwa. Verily the Shaitan is an enemy to you. So take him as an enemy. إنما يدعو حزبه ليكونوا من أصحاب السعير. He only has one purpose in life. His whole career is about this. He only invites his party so they can become Ashabu Sa'ir, companions of the blazing fire. This is what he's destined to do. To call us to the fire. And how does he work? As the saying goes, if the devil came before you with horns and a pitchfork, he would never get anybody. So he doesn't do that. But he comes to us through all types of venues, through family members, through friends, through brothers, through money, through greed. And he capitalizes on all of those things that we have shortcomings in. He suggests to us very powerful suggestions, and then he withdraws. And he's a master at it. He's been doing it for centuries. And some of us just get hip to his game. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to take him as an enemy. But the problem comes sometimes is we take the Shaitan as a friend. And sometimes we're unaware, sometimes we know it. But when we haven't developed taqwa and our iman is not being cultivated, Shaitan thrives on it. He comes to us through women, through money. And it's beautiful the way he does it. I mean, it's clever. She's going to take shahada. Just keep fornicating with her. You know you're going to build a masjid. Just keep earning haram money. Allah will forgive you. And Allah will forgive us. But Shaitan is setting these traps and we fall for them and we know that they traps. So how clever? So we like gangster stuff. You know, this is very popular in American culture. Gangster figures, criminal figures are more popular than heroes. And we love them when they do these things. And Shaitan infiltrates through this kind of stuff. And when he comes in our homes, and he comes to our children, we wonder what's going on. But we know the traps already. We know all the signs, and we keep falling for it. At some point, we got to repel Shaitan, as powerful as he is, as much ammunition as he has. And his only concern is to call us to the fire. That's it. Shaitan will never call you to what's right, even though it's seemingly right. Even though he manipulates our desires and our psychology to make us think that it's nice. And we start to justify what Shaitan whispered to us, because the whisper is powerful. So powerful that it overcomes us in a lot of instances, even when we see it coming. That's how much infiltration he has on the nafs, on the soul. Even when we see it coming. You know that voice inside of us, man, this don't feel right. Sometimes we know it's not right. Sometimes we admit this is not right. I know this is wrong. But that power of Shaitan will take that and manipulate it and make us say, oh well, anyway. That's what Ramadan's supposed to be training us for. When we had a break from him, we were supposed to be making a clean break, get away, because we know he was coming back. We know he's going to return. We know he's going to have a vengeance. We know that he's after us. And how have we prepared for it? And it turns out that this hardened criminal, the seasoned veteran, who knows nothing but crime in his life, and disruption, and corruption, and splitting people, and all of these things, turns out he's a confidential informant. Very popular these days. Maybe these people are onto something. Maybe they've been reading the Quran. Because what will the Shaitan do at the end of the day? He's going to turn on us. When he's called on the witness stand, he's going to turn state's evidence on us. For us who roll with him. He was our roadie. We listened to him. We didn't fight our nafs. We didn't cut off the avenues, that the traps that he set up to take us down. And we justified not doing it. Allah will forgive me. Allah knows my intention. Inshallah, inshallah. And in the meantime, in the interim, we ain't trying nothing except riding with the Shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Fatakidu aduwa. Take him as an enemy as he is. It's never our friend. Turns out he's a CI. وَقَالَ شَيْطَانُ لَمَا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ. He said that the Shaitan will say when the matter is decided, meaning the day of judgment is established. Check out what he says. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعَدَ الْحَقِّ. Allah promised you with truth, with the promise of truth. وَوَعَدَتْكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. And I promised you too, but I betrayed you. This is what he's going to say on the witness stand, telling us he betrayed us when we followed him. He made those desires seem fair seeming, and we justified in our minds because we didn't work on ourselves. And then when he suggests to us that power of suggestion and then he withdraws. And we know it happens to all of us. At that very moment, we feel so stupid when we commit a sin, or we do a wrong, or we do a crime. If we have any kind of taqwa, at that very moment we do it for, even if it's a millisecond, man, I messed up. And sometimes it's not as easy as just making tawbah. Sometimes it's about making islah with the people we wrong. Sometimes it's about returning property. Sometimes it's about saying sorry. Sometimes it's about humiliating ourselves. And Shaitan will say he promised us, but he turned his back on us. While we roll with him to the death, because that's what we do. We ride out for stuff that's harmful. وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا أَنْ دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي. And he's telling us specifically, we read this in the Quran, and we want our reading during this month. We came across it in Surah Ibrahim. I had no authority over you except when I invited you, and you responded. He's telling us how simple this thing has been for centuries. I just invite you. I don't put no gun to your head. You do it. Brothers, please try to move forward. Shaitan never forced us to do anything. He just used a powerful suggestion that we keep following. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan. Don't do it. Why? Because the traps he laid are not traps like booby traps. They don't just, stick out to you like that. But we know it's a trap. But a trap looks beautiful. It's in the form of a woman. It's in the form of money. It's in the form of whatever incites our desires, and the shaitan manipulates it. I had no authority over you except I invited you and you responded. And then he will say, فَلَا تَلُومُنِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't blame me, blame yourselves. Because when we're in that box and he's on the witness stand and he's telling us what he did to us plain as day, and we're going to want to say, man, you made me do it. You whispered to me. No, you responded. You have free will. You have the choice to follow me, or you have the choice to listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. La tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan. Don't follow the footsteps of the shaitan. Innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. For sure, he is to you an open enemy. He ain't your friend, he's an open enemy. Aduwwun mubin. It's clear as day. ما أنا بمصرخكم وما أنتم بمصرخي. I cannot be called to your aid, you can't be called to mine. All I did was put the wire on and watch you hang yourself. I knew who I had to answer to. I just did my job as a CI. That's what Shaitan did. He did his job as a confidential informant. Don't it sound familiar? Following people around, and all the time they misleading us. And we think that they are our friends. And then he even goes further to rub it in. Not only will he can't help us, and we can't help him, he denies suggesting it to us. He tells us he didn't really do anything, and then he says, إِنِّي كَفَرْتُ بِمَا أَشْرَكْتُمُونِي مِنْ قَبْلُ إِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. He says, matter of fact, I deny your association with me. Now think about that. He took us for the ride, and we knew it was a ride. And when he's on the stand, he said, matter of fact, I deny even dealing with you. And then Allah says, Inna dhalimina lahum adhabun alim. Verily for the wrongdoers is a painful punishment, something we should be reminded of. If the shaitan has a grasp on us, There is no way we should come out of this Ramadan and he has a chokehold on us again like that. That we fall right back into the same traps. Because we had a time to get away. We had a time to identify the traps even more. When we already knew that they're traps. How is it so? Something is missing with taqwa and building iman. That's the goal of Ramadan. La'allakum tattaqun. In order that we may have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what this hunger was about. That's what the dry mouth was about. That's what the thinking about the water was about, or was supposed to be. Or was it just that? Just thinking about, man, what time Maghrib comes in? Arguing about breaking right on time. And then throughout the year, Maghrib comes and we watching games. And Shaitan is whispering to us, we have no concern about the time. But during Ramadan, we have the training to the letter. Brother, it's 8:19. It's time to break. We quote hadith. We become ulama. And outside of Ramadan, Shaitan is wearing a wire on us. And we like it. Why? Because we ain't putting up a fight. That can't be no more, brothers and sisters. He's an open enemy to us. And Allah gave us respite and gave him respite. Because he has to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why he's going to disassociate himself from us. Because he knows who gave him the authority to do that. Just to suggest to us so we can know for ourselves what our loyalty is. What we have to start doing inside Ramadan and out is identifying the ways that Shaitan set these traps more and more and more. They are clear, but sometimes they're not that clear. Sometimes when they're iffy, we may go for it. Those are times we stay away from it. This whole thing is about battling ourselves. So when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that scroll is laid out, it's to our benefit. That's what all this is about. Anything else is secondary. All this is about saving our souls on the day of regret. Yawmul Hasra. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it. It will be for sure regret for the disbelievers, but it could very well be regret for us if we keep following the footsteps of the Shaitan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the fortitude to repel the Shaitan and to give us a good end. Ameen. Wa aqimus salat.